unfortunate situation.
Okay.
What I usually have, we're good. We're live now.
Yeah,
Woohoo!
yeah, cool.
See, that one wasn't too painful. We did
No,
it.
not at all. Not at all.
All
Not when
right.
someone else is dealing with the technology. No, that's good.
Honestly, the technology gets me every time. But with that being said, welcome to the inner room with That of My Damn Mind. This is the space where walls fall away, where stories don't just get told, they land messy, real, and alive. Here, writers open the door to what drives them, what haunts them, and what keeps them going. Every voice has its own rhythm, its own scars, its own sparks, and together we trace the threads that hold us, break us, and connect us all. I am so happy, like beyond happy, to have this amazing human step into the inner room for a second time. Esther, thanks for joining me again today.
Thank you. Thanks for the invite. I was very, very glad to accept it. Thanks.
Always. It's kind of crazy because I think when I had to go back into the Substack universe of my notes, I created this January 14th.
Okay.
So it's a month, so it was a couple of months ago that you were like, "Yeah, I'll do this." And then like
Yeah.
I love that life didn't kind of alter it too much, that you were able
Yeah.
to show up with me today and be present. So thank
Yeah.
you again. I just wanted to welcome in Julie Sarabi. Is that how you say your name? Because that reminds me of Sarabi from The Lion King. Wasn't that the mom? All right, anyways, I'm done having my little moment. If you are new to the inner room, unlike Esther, I come up with 20 curated questions for my co-host. So since Esther's been here before, these are even more whimsical, I should say, because I had to get creative because I can't just hit you with the "Why are you here on Substack" anymore. Neil, thanks for joining, but I am going to start us off nice and easy. Coming back into the space with me today, what feels different for you this time?
When was it I was here before? Was it kind of
It
summertime?
was
Do
of
you remember?
last year, yeah.
Yeah. What quite a lot feels different, to be honest. I feel I feel calmer, less
Mm,
nervous. I mean, but I think the calm isn't just that I feel I've done this before. I know what's coming. I know what a delight it is to have these. I think it's a calm and more of an inner calm that I've got because the trauma isn't running my show in the
mm,
way that it was when I first started Substack. And you don't realize, do you, when you're in the thick of it, you think this is all there is. And
mm.
you forget that it isn't all there is. There is progress is made, and that I would say I feel that I have progressed, and I'm in a better place, really. Yeah.
Mm. I love hearing that. How just remind us all, how long have you been on Substack?
I started on Substack February last year, so just kind of
That's
14, I guess 14 months, or not even as much as that, just over a year. Yeah.
wow. I yesterday apparently made my 1 year on this beautiful platform. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
excited that our journeys you might have started a smidge before me, but
Yeah.
that we found each other in it.
Yeah.
So, and that it's like, oh my God, I've had a friend for a couple of months at this point. So I greatly appreciate obviously your support, and I've
Yeah.
enjoyed catching up on some of the things that you're doing over there. But what was your heart? Sorry, what has your heart been holding lately that hasn't necessarily made it into your writing yet?
Oh, you do ask interesting questions.
It's the
What's
philosopher in me.
Well, yes. I mean, I've recently started doing poetry, and in some ways, I'm giving myself more permission now to go into some quite dark places, in as much as I am talking about how it's felt to lose my child. I've mentioned the S word, suicide word, um, and I think I can do this now because I am in a better place, and I know I can come back from that dark. I know I can dip into that place and come out again. I think, when possibly in the past I was frightened to go as much there because I thought that I'll end up staying in this very, very bleak place. So in some ways, it's strange. I'm not going backwards. I'm very sure I'm not going backwards, but I'm giving myself permission probably to be more real than ever. That I would say.
I mean, I kind of love that for you, but I also like that you are dampering in other genres because I
Mm,
felt myself also like kind of like, oh, let's try this poetry thing.
mm,
And
mm,
then, like, I was like, "Ooh, I wanna try horror, but not like your typical scary
mm.
horror," right? Like, it was more like thriller suspense horror that
Yeah,
also was reflective, right?
yeah,
Because I can't write anything that isn't. So, it's been fun to kind of put something that
yeah.
I'm used to writing and then kind of incorporating it into different forms like poetry or
Mm,
what I call the
mm,
horror genre. So, I love that
mm,
you kind of,
mm.
navigating different things as
Yeah.
well.
I
Um
think you can be playful on Substack, can't you? And I always think of my son because he was extremely playful, and I think creativity and playfulness go hand in hand.
Yeah.
And I've been very grateful that people haven't sort of abandoned me because I'm starting doing poetry. There was that initial feeling because I'm not a poet. And I'll never be as good as a lot of the poets I read. And I'm not sort of fishing for compliments here. I just know I just know I won't. It's not in me. I'm more of a prose writer, but it's been really good doing it. It's been good to challenge myself because when I first came on Substack, I set this challenge, which you talked about last time, of writing these two posts between Dom's birthday and Dom's death day. And I think I was ready for a new challenge, really, with my own writing. Uh, and it keeps it fresh, doesn't it? You know?
It I mean, it does. I mean, and you could it even if you don't think you're as good as a poet as
Mm,
anybody else, it doesn't mean that you can't dabble in what you think
no,
you are good at, mixing
no.
it with something, and that
Mhm.
might be great at that because it's
Yeah.
still part of what you know, are used to writing regardless. But I think
Mm,
Substack does give a platform to be a little bit playful, be a little it's
yeah.
experimental. Like nobody's going to write you off if you throw one post out there that may be not what your norm is. And if they do, then shame on them.
Yeah.
um,
Exactly. And how does anyone become good at anything unless they do it? That's a life lesson for us all, isn't it? Like, I mean, I play the piano, and I have pupils, and I sort of explain to them, they have to practice. I've got magic music dust that I sprinkle on them, and suddenly you've got to do it. And even seemingly brilliant um, musicians, there's hours of practice behind that, isn't there?
I mean, I think at anything, at any type of, like literally anything in life, there you can't just.
Mm.
I mean, some of us might be naturally just great at something, but I mean, most of us have to. There's practice and
Yeah,
persistence and consistency
exactly.
that go along with it.
You improve through doing, don't you? So I've taken that board, but I really am enjoying this latest sort of
Little journey.
this project of I really
Well, I just wanted to welcome in Lefty, Proof, Karen, Roger, Patricia, Chief Absurdity Officer, Nightler. Thanks for joining. Hello, hello. Hart, thanks for joining. And Naomi Moon, thanks for joining. So, with that being said, for someone meeting you today for the first time, who are you right now in this session?
Okay, so I'm Esther. I lost my son to suicide, and that's what I choose to write about on Substack. It's a difficult subject. I'm very aware of that, but I have always wanted to be very open about this because I think we need to be prepared to be honest about these things. But I'm also someone who's got a zest for living myself, and I hope that comes across in my writing too. And really, my message, hopefully people realize my message, is that it isn't the end of everything. It's not easy to find your way through this, but it isn't the end of life as you know it. It's the beginning of a new life. That's my message. I hope I bring that to Substack, as well as raising awareness, which I think is important, of mental health challenges.
Well, I think, while you say this isn't an easy topic, I think it's an extremely essential one that needs to be a part of any community because I'm sure as you found out through what you're doing, you're not the only one. And I think
No.
it's important that conversations exist around something like suicide awareness and what steps somebody can take to not beat themselves up after it, right?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I think you talk about often about like, well, what as a parent could I have done differently, and that blame game that you spend
So
a lot
much.
of time in, right?
So
um,
much. Yeah.
and then just the understanding of, unfortunately, some of us are only here for a short time, and I
Yeah.
think Dom's
Yeah.
story continues to captivate your community as well as an audience that needs to
Mm.
understand a little bit more of how important it is to share the
Yeah.
stories, not to pretend like it didn't happen, right?
No.
Like I have a lot of respect to you for being open about his story, about your life because of his decision. Because at the end of the day, it was his, it wasn't
Yeah.
anybody's.
Yeah.
So I can really appreciate and respect. And again, thank you for coming on today to share the light to whoever
Yeah.
may be new in this space with you.
Mm. Mm.
Um, we are going to get into some tough questions
That's
because
fine.
obviously this isn't an easy, like you said, topic, but
No.
I think it is important to continue to have conversations around it. That's why I will always encourage you to come
Yeah.
back and
Yeah.
have and sit down with me. But before we go into anything too heavy, what what parts of you feel the most like you these days?
Um, I I've already said I teach the piano. I am a piano player myself. Obviously, that's why I teach. And I think my connection to Dom is very strong through music. Before he died, I was giving him some online lessons. He died in COVID times. And when I'm playing the piano, I feel most myself, not only because of my connection to him, but just because I think my daughter describes it as what does she say? Flow state. When you're in a flow
Mhm.
state, is that right?
That sounds right.
When you're so absorbed in something that all there is that thing. And I know at other times in my life as well, which when it's been difficult, I know that playing it, and actually I do a bit composing as well. I have completely lost myself in those moments. And then the other thing, which is the hard thing, is temporarily put down. Nowadays, it just gives me joy. I just feel really, really joyful when I'm playing the piano. There are other things, but I think probably that one. I'm also in a band, so I get to play. We just had our band practice yesterday, so I get to play keys with two other people. John on guitar and Max, who's just this amazing singer, and she's also Irish and very funny. So it's just it's
Look out.
it's just such fun, it is such fun, and I don't want to go into politics. I don't think anybody does, but we live in a world which feels so heavy, and just having fun feels like an act of resistance, doesn't it? It's like, what can we do? Have fun, and that's what I do. I think I'm lucky to be able to have fun. Some people's lives don't give them that space, do they? So yeah, probably music, piano playing, composing, being in a band, all of that.
I love that you're able to have fun without guilt.
Yeah.
Like that's
Yeah.
the important part. Like
Yeah.
because yes, the world right now today is heavy and
Mm,
obviously the story you carry can be heavy. So
mm,
I love that you have the ability to enjoy a flow state even if it is
yeah.
semi connecting you or permanently connecting you at that
Yeah.
moment to something, it's still everybody's allowed to have fun,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know.
and Dom. I mean, bless him. Dom was very funny himself. I mean, he loved having fun. Um, and I could say, oh, well, he's not having fun now, so I'm not allowed to have it. But
Well,
I
what would
think,
make you think that he wasn't?
well, well, exactly. Exactly. This is it. He's certainly not suffering now. I mean, I don't mean to sound glib, but he's not. Um, and what would he now want if he was able to see down? I say down because, of course, our children are in heaven, aren't they? That's what. Of course they are. Um, uh, so, if he were looking down, what would he want to see? He'd want me to see me having fun, because that's when he was happiest. Why would he not want to see that? So, I don't feel guilty, to be honest, when I'm having fun. I have felt guilt. I don't think I've ever felt guilt about having fun. Just because I felt like that's just the trademark of who he was. So that is,
Right,
it's never occurred. I know that can happen for people, and I'm not, whatever, however people feel is how they feel.
right.
For me, that wasn't the source of guilt,
Oh.
um, fortunately. So.
Listen, I'm glad that you were able to connect to your inner Dom and just allow
Yeah,
yourself to have fun. And I do
yeah,
agree that, wherever you are, he is, and he can see from whatever vantage point he is bestowed upon. But I like to think he's right next to you.
yeah,
Um, all right, you just recently wrote Love Enough. I want to get the right
yeah.
title, right? It was like 3 days ago. Love Enough, and I have a couple questions from that specific post. So if
Okay.
anybody's not following Esther, this is the time that you hit the subscribe or follow button and read at least her most recent post, Love Enough. That line, "Love isn't always enough," it stays with you. What made this moment? What made this the moment to say it?
Um, I think I'm going to go back to my earlier answer that I'm, starting to actually get into the nuts and bolts of this. That losing a child changes your thinking. It's like all you learn has to be relearned or abandoned, and that message, love is enough. I mean, I remember my mum when I first had Dom, and he was very colicky, and I'm sure I was on the phone to her and saying, "Oh, I'm not feeling right," which I think I alluded to. I mentioned it in my write up after the poem, didn't I? And I remember her saying to me, well, he'll be able to feel the love, and it was a lovely thing to hear, and it was a great thing for her to say. Uh, and I think probably we do think, well, whatever happens, our children know they're loved, and that somehow feels like we're sort of bestowing a magic over them. And unfortunately, it's not the case. Loved children die, and the thought that Dom didn't love himself enough, and that's why he did it. And I think there's truth. There is truth in that, and it's terribly sad. But that's what depression does to you. It makes you feel unlovable, and it's so sad that the love you have isn't cutting through. And I know from reading other parents' accounts of losing a child, they feel exactly the same way. You think it will somehow make it okay for them, but it has to come from feeling good about ourselves, independent. And I think that's one of the things we learn as we get older, isn't it? That however much we may feel other people can give to us, we've got to give it to ourselves. That's just, and he stopped being able to. It's tragic.
I mean, I definitely have learned what I would consider later in life that love from a parent or from a sibling or even from a partner can't make up whatever I don't have for myself. So, you know, um it is something interesting for me to like conceptualize though, like to think that love really wasn't enough because I don't know if I don't know if I personally agree with that because
No,
I think your love was enough. I think the lack of his love was what wasn't enough, if that makes
yeah,
sense. I don't know.
exactly. And
So
that sort of, that's what I said. He wasn't able to love himself enough. But even that, the truth is that if you're, I'll talk about a child because I've lost my child. If your child takes a life, you truly don't know. You don't know what state, of itself. It's a solitary act, isn't it? If it wasn't a solitary act, it wouldn't happen. Nobody'd sit there and let it happen. You'd hope. Um, but I don't truly know. He was clearly not in a great place, but I'm basing it on my previous times when he had been depressed, when I know that as part of this it manifested as a feeling like a failure, that he wasn't any good, and which was heartbreaking, and but I was in a position to be part. I think other people would have done this too. I wasn't like the only person in his life. I had lots of friends, things, but I was able, hopefully, to give him enough comfort and to encourage him to sort of challenge this thinking. But I wasn't able to do that. in this final one. And so we don't know what happened, but I'm basing it on what I witnessed previously, which is all I have to go on, really.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people were taken back when they heard about Robin Williams. So,
Mm, mm,
you talk about like a brilliant mind. Sometimes it's really
mm.
hard to be in it for a very long
Yeah,
time.
yeah,
So it could be a lot of things. I mean, ultimately, unfortunately, like you said, you can only go based off of your own encounters with him and you could speculate it. But I think what you have done after it is what is more important to not
yes,
just his story but yours, right?
yeah,
Because a lot of parents can choose different paths, right? Not everybody is going to say, oh, I lost my son to suicide, and somehow turn that into a full-blown community of compassion and empathy for all. So I mean, I like to give you some credit and don't mind Onyx playing with his bone for the path that you eventually got. Because I don't want to say like instantaneously you were like, all right, well now we're gonna, maybe you were. I don't recall. I would assume that it
no,
would have
it
taken a
wasn't. No,
process to get to a point where, you know what, no, I'm gonna share my son's story, and I'm gonna
yeah,
openly talk about it because I know that I'm not the only one going through it, and there is there is something special about connecting with other parents that
yeah,
understand it.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Well, beautifully broken. Thanks for joining, Nora. Hello, hello. Thanks for coming in. I wish I could say Historia. I don't something. It's probably in my native
It's
language, and I can't speak.
Italian.
It's
Yes, you should know how to speak.
As I said, it's probably one of my languages that I don't know how to speak. C. James Desmond, thanks for coming in. If you're just joining us, I'm here today with the lovely Esther, who has a unique story that she shares on her Substack platform. Um, I I have I adored you the moment that I like discovered you, even before we sat in our first interview. Because again, like I said, I have a lot of respect for people that are willing to be honest and open about things that they're going through.
Yeah,
And
ditto.
when you write now, does it feel like release, responsibility, connection, or something else?
Could you say that again?
When you write now,
Hmm.
like when you write now, does it feel like release, responsibility, connection, or something else?
Um, well, I think you've come up with two good words there, to be honest, because it feels like both release and connection. We carry a lot when we lose a child, and when we lose a child to suicide, we carry an element that comes with that. I'm not saying it's the only awful death. Um, there's a death to addiction. There's death to children who's suddenly taken away. There's a. I don't. It's not a competitive thing,
Our world
but
is definitely not always the nicest, and any type of
no,
child loss is not
no, no.
great.
But because of that, you do end up carrying a lot around with you, and it does feel that I can put it down when I write about it, and that's what the sense of release is there. But it's not just putting it down. I feel like I'm putting it down and helping someone else put theirs down too. That it's more than just that on a personal level. It is on a personal level, undeniably. But I do feel like I'm actually giving other people permission as well. That's always been what I've wanted to do in my writing. Um, connection. Connection is very strong and it's grown stronger. When I first started off, there were just a few people. I mean, they're still with me. It's wonderful people, wonderful people. Um, and I don't know if you read the comments on my pieces, but there's a whole thing going
So,
on there.
I was like, sometimes, because when I leave a comment, some of them catch my attention, especially
Yeah,
ones that are maybe a little bit more lengthy in
yeah,
what they would
yeah,
like to communicate to you. So, you know, not all the time, but sometimes, because
yeah.
you can't miss them.
No, no, no. And so there is a really strong sense of connection. Your boy is so beautiful. He's very welcome. Does he have a question for me?
I was gonna say, do you want the mic? He's just probably peeved that I'm not paying attention to him right now.
My
You know?
latest piece, I know I'm going a little bit off track. My latest piece that I'm writing, which may come out next Saturday, but I've got another one, so I've got two in the bubble. Is about dogs. It's about being good. It's called at the moment, and it's referencing the fact we say goodbye, goodbye. You're a good boy
Well,
so many times a day. But getting back to connection, yeah, very very strong feeling that I know I'm writing. I know when you begin, a lot of people on notes, and I understand why they say I'm writing into a void. There's nobody out there. Is anybody out there?
hello.
Please connect. Yeah, and it does feel like that at the beginning, and I don't feel like that now at all. I know that I'm sort of. I like to call it an offering. I don't hope it doesn't sound too grand, but I feel like I'm
You
offering
are grand though.
something. um, I'm offering something. Here's my offering. Just as I feel when they write theirs, I feel like this is an offering because it helps me reading other people's. The people that connect with me. I make a point. Hopefully, I don't miss people out because when somebody comments on my work, it's like you're in now. I'm going to read your work. That feels like completely the right thing to do. And they're all brilliant.
Reciprocity.
I mean, I'm not, it's no hardship because there's some
Right.
seriously good writing on here. But that community, that's how it's evolved for me. Yeah.
Well, I think reciprocity goes a long way. I'm very much similar in the if you're gonna take time out to say anything to me
Mm,
based on
mm,
anything that I've written, I think that the least that I could do is take a
yeah.
minute to go read something and
Yeah.
leave you something as well. So
Yeah.
I love that though. I love that you feel like it has become an offering. And I also like that you mentioned the fact that you feel like you're giving other parents permission
Mm,
because I don't have this story. I don't even have a child. So we're obviously very different in the
yeah.
in what we talk about, but I like to think that anything that I put out there is also giving somebody else permission to look
Absolutely.
inward,
Yeah.
right? Because I'm a reflective type of person,
Yeah.
so I hope that it allows somebody else to find something within themselves that they're willing to kind of sit with a
Yeah.
little bit
Well,
longer. So
I have with your work. I read your work, and I think, oh yeah, I really relate to what this is turning into a loving, isn't it? But I really relate to what you write as well, Milana. Milana?
listen, you can say my name however you want to say my
No, I
name.
don't want to say it like Trump's
it's
wife,
it's Marlena.
Marlena.
It's not really fancy.
Marlena. Okay,
But
Marlena.
my mom
Yeah.
likes the A's, so that's what I got. I got a whole bunch of A's in my name.
Okay. But no, I read Joe, and I relate a lot to what you said. But I think what we're relating to isn't so much the work as the type of people we are, and I find
Mm.
that there's a lot of writing on there, and it's really interesting to hear different perspectives, isn't it? Just to get a sense of different people, and it's such a joy to, somebody who's the other side of the world, and you can start to sort of have a kind of relationship with a written relationship, but it feels much more real once we start to connect in that way. And I think it is real, because we're actually bothering, we're getting beneath the surface level, and that is when a real relationship starts, isn't it?
Yeah, I think the connection is definitely genuine because I think and on this platform specific, like anything that I read, I am grateful that the writer put themselves out there.
Yeah.
So like when you scroll on TikTok or Instagram, it to
Mm-hmm.
me seems very performative. So when I'm
Mm-hmm.
here on Substack, I'm just like when I read something that is so honest or detailed or
Mm-hmm.
whatever, it's very impactful, and to me
Yeah.
that's where the connections lie because it
Yeah.
feels more genuine.
Yeah.
So no shade to the other platforms, but I mean
No, no,
obviously I'm a
no.
big fan of Substack and the
But we
way that
know
they
how long
connect
it
people.
takes, don't we? Because we know when we write our own pieces, they don't happen in a second, do they? We have to take time, and then you go back and you reread them, and of course you post them, and then you immediately think, "Oh, I wish I'd done." These are quite weighty things for us, aren't they? And not, and they come from the heart, and also, they are an offering. I think, yeah, yeah.
Absolutely. we're literally inviting people into our world, into our
Mm,
mindset, into the way that we see things. So, I mean, I think very much any post by anybody on any publication on this platform definitely seems like an offering. So I don't
mm,
think you were wrong in utilizing that
no.
word. It is grand. It is very grand what we're doing here, and each one
Yeah.
of us in the lanes that we're in. Like, um, I saw Beautifully Broken in here, and she's somebody that speaks about her addiction past. So just like anybody that is willing to be open about
Mm,
their life
mm,
story, is it's that's a grand offering to somebody else. I'm always a big fan of leaving breadcrumbs for the people that are coming behind. Or
yeah.
I say often, like, I've walked through dark rooms, but I've always left a light on for whoever's coming next.
Mm,
Like,
mm,
that's
yeah.
what we're doing here. That's what
Yeah.
you're doing with your publication. And it was 3:33. I saw it real quick. But
Mm,
I very much enjoyed watching the way your publication has evolved. So
okay.
moving into Tears, Tools, and Treasure, because this is where I think you went from I'm talking about my son in suicide to I'm gonna make an impact within this community. And
Yeah.
that's what I feel like it has become.
Yeah.
What did you feel was missing that made you create this space for other parents?
Um, well, initially, it wasn't so much the very first thing I felt. I spent time talking about Dom, and I had, I talked last time to you how it had been really traumatic revisiting memories, and I found it. Sometimes I was shaking as I was writing. Which is, if anyone wants to look back at that interview, that's what was going on, because I was dealing with some really difficult stuff and traumatic stuff, and in effect going back. And I had so much support from people, really, really kind other parents who were further along, who knew exactly what I was going through and who knew just the right words to say, and it made such a difference to me. Then I started writing, and it got to the point where I thought, well, I'm writing about Dom here, and he's not the only child who's died, and I'm not the only parent who's lost a child. And of course, it's good to know. It's sad, but I kind of felt like now it's time to move into giving other parents an opportunity to, not that they weren't writing about their children, but to create something which was a place where we could all contribute as a community into this space. And the reason I called it Tears, Tools and Treasure, I do like the number 3 and alliteration, clearly. And I remember going on a walk and thinking, well, Tears, Tools, and I was thinking, what's the third one? And I spent ages, and it didn't begin with T. And then it came to me, Treasure, and I thought, yeah, that's the one. So um, I wanted a place where other parents could share their story in such a way that parents who weren't necessarily writers, because a lot of people on Substack are readers. I know I've got a lot of parents who read my work and don't necessarily want to write,
Yeah.
but a place where they could read stories relevant to them. And I didn't want it to be all about losing a child to suicide. I'd become very aware through the comments from other people that a lot of parents were reading my work and making lovely comments who'd lost their children in other ways. And it made me aware that I wasn't just a mother who'd lost a child to suicide. I was a mother who'd lost a child, and that I belonged in that group, and I was welcomed in that group. Probably at the beginning I didn't feel that. And so it came about. Tears was basically what's been the worst part of this grief, of this loss of your child. And I wanted to create a space where parents felt safe to say what was so awful, because in the real world of Substack, there's a limit to how much time people want to hear that, and you don't necessarily want to talk about it. You don't want people to be backing off when they see it coming. Oh, here she is. She's going to be so miserable. But you like I've said, you're carrying this stuff. Even if you're not talking about it, you're carrying it. So I wanted it. That was the first thing. What's been so bad? And it's an invitation. Come on, you can say everything here. That's really, and what's the worst of it? And I know parents have found that difficult to write that, and it's been very generous of them to do so, because it takes us right back to probably some places some people have most of the time aren't going back to that. And then tools, I thought that was really helpful because it would show people, probably people early in this, that they were going to find some things to help them as they went along. Not to make it disappear. It doesn't disappear, but
Right.
things that help as they go along. And then the treasure, again, it's not like what's been so wonderful about losing your child. Nothing's wonderful about it. It's all hideous. But is there something? Is there joy still? And that's on my Substack, Hope, Healing, and Joy. Is there joy? And you know that was also for me very important. Now, some parents aren't at the place where they feel there's any joy, which is fair enough. Don't force anything. But parents who are further along the line have found real meaning in life, and have, often through things they're doing in their child's name, or connections with their children. And pretty much all parents are saying, yeah, I connect and I feel them here. And there's all manner of ways in which parents are maintaining that connection. So it was really important. But the first thing before any of that was, tell me about your child.
Mm.
And again, you don't get that opportunity to talk about your child. Parents do talk about their children all the time. They say, oh, they're doing this, or someone's having a baby, or they've got a new job. And I've got friends, and that happens. But once you start talking about your dead child, it's hard, because everyone just thinks, oh, they're dead, and it's really bleak.
Yeah.
But the desire to talk about your child is just as strong. We're just as passionate. We want to tell everybody how they were wonderful, what made them who they were, what we loved about them, what annoyed us if necessary, and what was the whole picture. And creating that space has been beautiful. And there's also a strange sort of thing that's, I feel, is happening, whereby it feels like all our children are in this place now together. And when you lose a child, you have this, for me, there's a sense that, oh, Dom's in this lonely place now. He's all on his own. And it's helped me a lot, because I think, well, he's not on his own. He's got all these others who are, can I name them? I said I'd like to name them.
Sure, you could take a moment. Before you do, can I just read Julie's comment? Because she
Of
said, wonderful
course.
sight for bereaved parents, including me. So Harry Hogg says, I lost my son and wife on the Estanoa ferry tragedy. He was 14, every inch a man. My comfort is he was there to hold her. Thank you both for sharing, by the
Yeah.
way. That
Thank
was,
you.
thank you,
I'm
Harry.
really, really sorry. Yeah.
But we are going to take a moment to, Esther's going to name the children whose stories are part of Tears, Tools, and Treasure. And if you want to
Yeah.
read them, obviously you can find
Thank
them
you.
on her
Yeah.
publication.
Just because as I say, I feel Dom is amongst. I think they're all together. It's a lovely thought. Probably
Yeah,
having
absolutely.
a wild party if Dom had anything to do with it. So, so these are the children who are included in their stories are included. It's in reverse order, actually, the most recent one. So there's Charlotte, Patrick, Gemma and Lev, Emil, Kevin, Bix, Kyle, Neve, Jaden, Brady, Morgan, Alyssa, Nick, Nathaniel, Garrett, Sam, Henry and Henry, Max, Sanjay, Chris, Elliot, Alex, Lucas, Alex, Lyra, Shayna, Sheila, Ravi, Ewan, Colleen, Benjamin, Hunter, Christopher, Douglas, and Dom. There's a lot of love there. There's a lot of it's a beautiful space, and it's a comfort for me to feel that they're all there together, and we get to meet them in this space, and there's no holds barred over what we can say. So it's become very special. Yeah.
So this is one of those situations where I'm grateful that you have created this space for bereaved parents, and obviously Julie and Harry are as well, but it also saddens me
Mm-hmm.
like
Mm-hmm.
beyond what my empathy
Mm-hmm.
can probably take in to know that there are that many children just
Yeah.
in that publication, right?
Yeah.
I'm sure there's a plethora of more and a plethora of more parents, and
Of
I'm hope that
course.
you know you guys find each other to continue to raise this community in a very unique way. If Harry wants to drop his son's name, we would obviously add him to
Yeah,
the list.
and I do welcome any parents who'd like to contribute. It's very straightforward because I kind of put the post together. You just have to answer the questions and send some photos and then leave it with me, and I create your post for you. So I'm saying it like it's easy. I know it's not easy because it's something that's obviously very there's some real sadness in there, but hopefully there is joy and an opportunity for your child to be in the spotlight for a while, which is what we all love about this, I think.
Yeah, I think that there is a very uniqueness in your approach to it, and hearing that your format is actually quite interesting because that might actually be helpful to some parents because they
Yeah,
might not really know what
yeah.
all to say. So the fact
It's
that
it's
it's kind of like a
yeah.
questionnaire, it might.
It's very straightforward, I think. Yes, yeah. And when I've done it, I send you the draft, and I'd say, do you want anything changing, or it's very much nothing goes out until people have said yes. I'm
Yes,
really
right.
happy with that. And some parents have come back to me and wanted loads of changes, and it's had about three or four. But as far as I'm concerned, they want this to be absolutely right, and
As
and
they should.
so respect that. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. It's really important.
So let me ask you, what has it been like to hold other people's stories alongside your own?
Um, I One of the reasons I wanted to do this was because Dom was a very caring, kind person. He set up his own sort of mental health groups when he was suffering, and I discovered in his journal that he'd written when he was trying hard not to take the drastic action he did take. He said, "If I do it, Mum will probably take her life too. I mustn't do it." I know this is bleak stuff, but it kind of it made me think I mustn't in how I react to this give Dom any further guilt. If he looks
Mm.
down and sees what he was dreading playing out, because he said, "Oh, she'll probably take her life too," is what he actually said. I mustn't add to his burden by giving the impression that my life has come to an end. And then from there, because Dom liked to create spaces and create support in community, I sort of felt like a natural progression to think, isn't that what all children would want, that their parents survive this? And instead of going down the line, and I know a lot of people do some fantastic work in suicide prevention, for me, it felt like I was carrying Dom forward better through thinking about the parents, because that's what he was concerned what he was going to do to his parent, and that's where it came from, really. I think.
I mean, it sounds like you were able to take something that he probably would have naturally done and you figured out a way to naturally do it yourself. And I like that you're obviously focusing on the health of like the mental health of the parent
Yeah,
because you know how difficult it is to
yeah,
live in that space mentally. So,
absolutely.
like I said, we all walk through dark rooms, but I think the best of us leave the light on for somebody else
Yeah.
because we understand how difficult something is. And I think about just the things that I've gone through my life, and I wouldn't want somebody to go through that thinking like that was it.
Mm,
Like if
mm,
I had the opportunity to say something or do something to help
mm.
somebody, I would want to do that, you
Yeah.
know? So I respect the hell out of what you have done with Tears, Tools, and Treasure. Has anything shared in that space changed you in a way you didn't expect?
Um, I think it's given me permission to not feel quite so. Is it a word in America? Batty means
Yeah, I
means
think yeah. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah.
that I'm not batty because I'm thinking, seeing my son here and thinking of him there, and because these parents, pretty much every parent has got their version of when their child appears, and some it's this in the sky, and some it's this and this and this, and I just think, great, yeah, that's great, because you do worry. I do worry if I talk about how, yeah, I feel Dom's coming through and he's done this, and that people think, oh, she's just, poor woman, she's lost her son, she's lost her mind too, you know and I think so. It's emboldened me, really. I think, to just think it really doesn't matter, and other parents understand it. Nobody's batting an eyelid when you say these things. So yeah,
Well, to me, it's just, I think anyone that has lost a loved one, regardless of relationship, feels like they are helping or guiding or showing up in different
yeah,
aspects of their life. Like, I don't think that's batty at all. I think, again, with my intro, I say we're all connected. I believe we're
yeah,
always connected. I don't think that just because he's no longer here that there's somehow like, oh well, the cord is finally cut, and
yeah.
now no, I that would be, I think that it would be hard for me to believe that. So I don't think you're
Yeah.
batty at all. I
I
think you're just a human.
yeah, and also, of course, it's a double thing when you lose a child, because if you lose someone early, if they die before their time, that of itself is difficult, obviously. But if it's your child, in the natural order of things, you would never have been around to see your child. Um, not being here anymore, it wouldn't have happened. And so I think the urge, the need to have them still present in your life is so strong, so powerful. It actually, it's the only thing that makes sense, um, that they are still here. Them not being here is a thing that doesn't make sense. It's we have an inverted reality. They've got to be somewhere. Is what I think our brain is telling us this, and then something happens along the way. Something happened for me. Well, a few things happened. Like I went to Haworth, and there's a post on Substack called "My Weird and Wonderful and Weekend in Haworth," and I rocked up to a house and discovered that it was the same house. It was an Airbnb that the lady who'd done a quilt, which I'd contributed a square for, owned. And I said, "Oh, I'd have loved to have seen the tapestry, the quilt." And she said, "You can see it. It's downstairs." And it's like, really? That no, that's too impossible to conceive, and that had happened. And so that's the other part of this. I think I've started to believe that if we really want a connection still with our child, something happens, a portal opens. I don't know what it is, but that to me, at that point, that was the point at which, because I'm fairly sort of level-headed and rational, and I remember thinking, okay, Dom, okay, I get it. Yeah, yeah. You don't need to do anything else, right? I'm prepared to believe it now, because this is so out there. Um, and I think I've witnessed that a lot with the other parents writing. And in the past, I'd have thought, oh, they need to believe their child's there, so they come. This is why. But actually, I don't think it's that. I think it's that we desire still to have them in our life, and that desire of itself opens a portal whereby they are still in our life. It's changed. Getting back to your previous question, and they are. And Dom's very present in my life now, which is great.
I mean, I think he will forever be present. I recently wrote yesterday about my grandmother, and I didn't know her. Like, I have no like recollection of her, but there has been a part of me my entire life that has felt connected to this person. So I will 100% believe that he is still connected to you and
Yeah.
present
Yeah.
with you and everything. Harry shared Daniel, so we can add Daniel to the list. But Daniel loved me. He loved what I did, loved what I taught him, and when it came time for him to teach me some things, I learned them with pride. I'm so glad that you had that opportunity to learn from him too, not just him learning from you.
Yeah.
You know, that's a
Yeah.
unique experience for parents just in general, like
Mm.
learning from your kids at some point,
Mm.
and
Mhm.
you have to be open to want to even do that. So
Yeah. Yeah.
kudos to you, Barry. um Wowzers, my friend. Why
How
does
many
time go?
questions have we got through?
I don't know, I didn't keep track, I bounced around a little. So but I'm like, I every time I do one of these, I'm always quite surprised on how quickly an hour actually goes, and I'm just
Yeah.
like, but like when I'm not doing this, or like when I was a kid in school, it felt like an hour took forever. Or when I was working, and I was like, oh, I only have an hour left, and it was like, oh my god, the longest hour of my life. But then I sit here with lovely humans, like yourself, and it's just like, time goes by very, very quickly, very, very quickly. Um, I think you answered this one kind of earlier, but so I'm going to skip that one. What does it mean to you now to keep Dom's presence part of the world?
Oh, so much. Um, when our child dies ahead of time, and it's always going to be ahead of time as a parent because, as I say, you're not supposed to be around for this event. Um, there's a there's so many losses, but one of the losses is the feeling that the world has lost the opportunity for this person to be in it, and everything that you loved about them has gone with that loss. I wrote a piece in which I talked about co-destiny, and it was the most comforting thing I had read at that point. And the idea is that they've gone, but you get the chance to keep their influence going, and in doing that, you keep the part of them that the world lost present, and that's that is so comforting. And in terms of your question, that's everything to me. That what I'm doing now is very much. I think it's very much Dom's vibe, and they didn't get the chance to do these things for whatever reason. And there's any number of reasons a child dies, but they didn't get the chance. It's so unfair, and I think we want to kind of vicariously give them that chance to be the person they came into the world to be. We're their torchbearers now.
Hmm. You know, my brain always goes in different directions when I listen to people speak, and I'm not. I don't believe that every time is an appropriate time to be a devil's advocate, but it would. It's like I want to believe he was everything he needed to be in the lifetime that he was given.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, you
It's
know what I'm
funny.
saying?
Yeah,
And like
I
you're continuing to carry forward, but obviously if that event never happened, then this none of this would have
yeah,
happened. Like these
yeah,
connections wouldn't happen. This platform wouldn't happen. There's always a bigger purpose to an unfortunate loss, I feel like. And I don't know. I guess that's just the way that my brain
yeah.
chooses
No,
to think
I
about
mean,
things sometimes.
yeah, I actually like what you've said. It can I like both? It's
Yeah,
like,
obviously,
you know what I
absolutely.
mean?
I was very hesitant to say because it's like
No, no, I
I'm never
like
trying to be, especially in this type of
no,
atmosphere. But
no,
like,
no, no.
I'm not trying to like not say what you say isn't true. I'm
Mm,
just like, I
mm,
always like to show other sides to something, just
yeah,
because, you know,
yeah,
sometimes when we're in it, we can't always see it. You know,
yeah,
and that's true for me too. Like in my own life, I don't always get to
yeah,
see what somebody else who happens to be observing it see it, and when they actually share it with me, I'm like, oh.
yeah.
Thanks.
I mean, I think what you said sort of speaks to something I've heard others say, which is that and again, this is also comforting, which is where the sort of, I guess the term's duality of my responses, that we come into this earth to pursue a curriculum,
Hmm.
and once we've achieved, we've pursued that curriculum, and we can go because we achieve what we came here to. It's quite Buddhist, isn't it? But the idea that there's a curriculum and that you're learning, and in many ways, I mean, Don was so playful and so young in many ways, but he was also extremely wise. So it, I can go with that. You know, he got the wisdom he needed. I wish some other people in this world had his wisdom. No names mentioned, but 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 you know, so I also like that. I like both.
Mm. And you know what? The cool thing about life is two things can be true.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
um, Harry has shared some stuff with us, so I want to read that real quick before we sign anything off or anything like that. But Harry says the umbilical cord for a mother is never cut. For a
Mm,
father, it is heart's memory. He
mm,
also says once a week I could count on his teacher coming to the farmhouse. It was always the same story. Daniel was a child incapable of sitting still in class, disrupting the lesson, disadvantaging those children who were well behaved. Sounds like me. By 12, Daniel's life at sea had separated him from the natural growing up of a boy, and when we returned home, he found difficulty adapting back to living on the island. He became reclusive, not wanting friends around, not wanting to play any kind of games. That's interesting. You know, as somebody who's left the environment that I was used to and like knew my whole life growing up. And I literally just had this conversation with my dad. I'm like, I cannot believe that you have spent almost 70 years in the Bronx. Like
mm,
I go there to get my hair cut and that's it. And it's only like a 20-minute drive south for me. And it's literally where I was born and raised. And I can't be there long. Like there are sometimes when you get exposed to other types of lifestyles or other ways
mm.
of living, it's hard to just go back. And
Yeah.
it doesn't mean that it's back is bad or anything like that. It just means you've outgrown the space. So I can relate to that because I was literally just in the Bronx today and I was like, oh my God, get me the fuck out of here. As if I wasn't born and raised there. So it's just life is can be very quirky
Yeah.
and funny in the ways that it kind of shows up sometimes. Mm. Oh, well, is there anything that you'd like to say before we sign off, my friend?
You see, I wrote some notes, which didn't last time. I think I'm probably. Well, I did want to say, because I've written a few posts about time, and I'm very conscious of my. I'm now older than my mother was when she died.
Mm.
Uh, and I just wanted to share a story that my hairdresser was very intent on keeping me dyeing my hair, and I said no, I want to go grey now. I want to be my natural colour, and she said it's you're going grey, Esther. You know, people will think you're old, and I said, well, I am old, and it's fine. It's not a problem.
I don't believe that, but sure.
But well, I'm 63, so I was going. But it I think isn't life interesting? I just wanted to end on this note that I'm actually it feels like a privilege to grow old because I lost my mum. Dom had died before his time as well, and I see every grey hair now, and I wanted to show you my grey hairs. Wash my hair specially, but the grey hairs, and I look at them and I think, I look in the mirror and I think my mum didn't get a chance to grow these grey hairs, and I guess we start the interview with me talking about have I changed, and I guess I didn't even notice this stuff when Dom first died. I'm starting to be aware that these kind of things that this is about me now, not about my loss. I exist. I also exist here with my grey hair and playing the piano, and I my whole identity is not that I lost a child to suicide. And it can feel when you see Substack and that I write about this subject, it isn't the whole of me, and I don't want it to be the whole of me. There's a lot about me that's nothing to do with this, and yes, it changes. you a great deal, but I feel like the essence of me is still here.
Mm.
And I don't know what I'm saying really. I want to, I guess I want to offer parents hope that yes, this is going to change so much in your life. There's no denying it, and it will be hard, but don't lose sight of who you are and who you were before this happened. I think it's really important to give yourself a chance, and not, we talk about don't feel guilty. We're only here once with our grey hair.
If
And your and
if
your
we're
child
lucky
was
enough to
only
see it,
and your child was only here once, and
yeah.
they had that life, and this is the life you have, and I really don't think your child would want you not to be living this life, and that's what I feel I am. And I'll and here's my Dom.
Mm.
And I know
He's so
I
handsome.
he was very handsome boy, and with a dog in his hand.
I was like, he looks like Onyx. That dog looks like
That's
Onyx.
my other son's little pastel terrier. He is a bit of a terror, Lenny. But yeah, and that my message is this will change you, but it doesn't have to absolutely take everything away. That's my message.
I think that's a beautiful one. I think that's definitely a message, not even just bereaved parents, but anybody who is struggling with a loss. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
yeah, loss is change. I mean, because I could tell you that at a young age, if I lost one of my parents today, even though they're in their 60s, it still would feel like too soon for me.
yeah. Of
Right.
course.
So, anybody going through a loss, I think it's important that to your point is that, yeah, it's going to change you, but it doesn't have to change all of you.
No, no.
Mm. Ugh, my friend, if I could hug you through a phone, man, I would. I tell you, one day I'm gonna get across to that pond, and I'm going to be able
Oh,
to
come.
sit
Yeah.
down and have a cup of tea with you, a proper
So
tea, because fucking here, I hate tea here. I hate tea here.
I have so many varieties. So many.
I told you, you and Mindful of It are my two UK lists that I must sit and have a proper cup of tea with because
Well, let's make it a three. Let's go somewhere posh. I
oh
live near I live near Oxford. We've got some very posh shops there. I'm sure we could get a fine cup of tea there.
oh my god, and a good old biscuit.
Oh,
Oh,
a dunky one.
ooh, she was talking about what are the other crumpets?
Oh yeah,
I've never had a crumpet before, and now all I
not
want is
lived.
that.
Oh, not lived. Yeah,
um,
you have crumpet and tea and dunky biscuits.
that's literally the only reason why I'm going to the UK. Apparently, beautifully broken said this one was deep for me. Yeah,
I hope it's not been too heavy. It's a heavy subject, but
but I mean, again, to
yeah,
your like to the point we said is it's important that you're here, that it is being talked about, that there is a community around you, but also one that continues to be created, and
yeah,
again, it's not just the loss of a child of suicide; it's just the loss of a child, period.
yeah,
And
exactly.
yeah,
Yeah,
I'm grateful that you're here, open and willingness to talk to somebody like myself who has not experienced something like this, but recognizes the importance of it being a space
yeah,
on this
yeah,
platform or just in Earth in general, because everybody deserves to have somebody that they can lean on that
yeah.
has gone through something similar. So,
Yeah. Well,
Julie
thank you for
says,
creating this space and inviting me back. And I love the number three, so we have to do this at least one more time.
listen, I am all for that, my friend. You know that. Julie says hugs to both of you. Thank you, thank you.
Thank
Harry
you.
said one crumpet and a half pound of butter. That sounds like.
That sounds like a lot of calories to me.
Listen, I'll work out for the next couple of days, I guess. I don't know. But as usual, darling, it has always been a pleasure to sit and speak with you. Thank you for
Okay.
taking the
And
time
you.
out of your day to be here and, share,
Thank you.
continue to share Dom's story, but everybody else's.
Yeah.
That's all part of Tears, Tools and Treasures.
Yeah.
With that being said, you've been in the inner room where the conversations go deep, the connections surprise, and the truths linger long after the world quiets down. Until next time, keep listening inward because that's where the stories that shape us really live. I hope you all have a beautiful day or night, depending on where you are. Bye, my friend.
Bye.